Build an online author platform using social media is what we're going to be talking about today. And we are going to be having some content as we start off. And then at the end, I'm going to make sure that we have lots of Q&A time. So if there are any questions that you have, please make sure you pop them in the chat, or you can ask me at the end. But I will hopefully answer as much of your questions as I can as we go, but please don't be afraid to ask any questions in the chat, and I will look at them once we have question time at the end. So welcome everybody. So what we're going to be talking about today is the secret basically to social media marketing. I don't want it to be a secret. I think a lot of people think that it is something that is only the realm of people who are tech savvy, or people who are really good at making online content. But we are talking today in the context of creative industries, and how people in creative industries can use social media marketing to build their online platform, especially in a time now where we really can't do a lot of the face-to-face marketing that we used to, and we can't do a lot of the in real life events. So we've almost been forced to educate ourselves about what social media is, what social media does, and how it can help build our platform as a creative business. So what we're going to be talking about is how much selling sucks. And I think a lot of people who are creatives know that the selling part of it is their least favorite part of everything that we do. But we're also going to talk about how it's kind of a very important part of what we do, and how we need to get our head around that. We're going to talk about how to do it, avoiding mistakes, ditching the dinosaur thinking, and also I'll let you know about how I can help, because that's what I am here for. I am definitely here to help. Before we start, I'd like to do an acknowledgement of country. I'd like to acknowledge the traditional custodians of this land. I pay my respects to the elders, past, present, and emerging, for they hold the memories, the traditions, and the culture of Aboriginal and Torres Strait Islander people across this nation. And I am coming to you today from Quandamooka country. So let's start with the obvious: selling sucks. And I don't think there's many people out there who would think that necessarily selling their books or selling themselves as an author is the favorite part of what they do. If it is, that's great. But I think the people who are on our call today are probably the ones who really dislike that aspect of the author journey. But I really need to change your thinking around that, because the secret to marketing your book on social media is that you're a storyteller. That's what you do. And all you need to do is change the way that you tell stories and change the platforms on which you tell your stories. And when you're a storyteller, you never have to sell. And that's kind of the great part about it as well. If we are simply sharing our stories, then we don't really have to worry about the sales stuff, because that kind of comes as a byproduct of reaching the people who are most in line with our why, and also the people who can benefit the most from reading our books. So it's a little bit of a mindset shift here. And we're moving away from thinking about building an author platform as having a sales platform, as to having more of a branding platform. And there's really a process that you need to learn. So I guess that's the great thing about it. Even though it can seem a little bit overwhelming to start off with, there is a process on how you can build an author platform online. And it's something that I have been working on and perfecting over the last 10 years. So I've been active on social media for just under 10 years now. So I am really starting to see some great results from just it being a marathon and not a sprint. And I was talking to somebody last week, and she was saying, "Oh, why have you got so many followers?" And I was saying, "Because I've been doing it for a long time. You know, there is something to be said about starting early. So I actually started building my social media platform from my very first book contract. And really, when I think about it now, I should have probably started even before then. And if I had done that, then I would be a lot further along than what I am now, because it really does grow exponentially once you can get a certain number of followers, once you can develop your brand on social media, once you kind of get past that initial awkward beginner feeling, it does get easier. It really does. So I want you to redefine how you think about social media and bring it back to what's your purpose. What's the purpose of me being on social media? And if you really can't think of a very good reason, for one, I don't think you're thinking hard enough in this day and age, because we kind of need to be on social media. But the second is that there is an amazing opportunity for value exchange on social media. It doesn't always have to be one way. It doesn't always have to be you just feeling like you are constantly selling and marketing. There's an amazing opportunity for community using social media, and it actually can be lots of fun as well. And that's what I try and focus on. And if you have a look at my social media sites, there's not a lot of salesy stuff. There's more stuff about informing and building my community. What do you need to start building your social media platform that you don't have right now? This is a question that I want you to ask yourself, and you might like to scribble down some answers that you have to that, and maybe share those with me in Q&A. What is it that you need? What is it that you need that you don't have right now? And we will look at the process of how you build your author platform on social media, but you need to understand the why first. Why do you have to do it? Because if you're spending all your time being cranky at social media that you have to be on it, then the type of content that you're putting on social media and the interactions you're having are not going to be beneficial. So you need to really get your head around why you need to be there. But I really want you to think about what is stopping you, and let me know what's stopping you, so that I really can tailor a lot of my answers to what is stopping you. And hopefully, as we go along and I share more information with you, that you might see that actually you do have a lot more information, and maybe you have a lot more knowledge, and maybe you have a lot more content than you thought you did as well. So that would be a really great exercise if you could write that down for me. So for those of you who don't know me, I am an international award-winning author. These are some of my stickers. And those of you who know me also know how much I love stickers, and how much I've loved stickers since I was a kid. So these stickers let me know I'm on the right track. And I can honestly say that I would not have got some of these stickers unless I was active on social media, unless I was growing my brand on social media, because a lot of the time my success has come from collaboration and community. And you get that from being active on social media. But a lot of people ask me, how do I do it? I don't even know. So when we build an online author platform using social media, there definitely is a process, and I'm going to break it down for you. Because we don't have a lot of time today, I'm giving you the abridged version, but remember that we do have the course on authorsonline.com.au that you can go into a lot more detail. But I just wanted to give you an outline, so at least you can get started. At least you can kind of get on there and start having a play. So the first thing you need to do is develop your story. This isn't necessarily writing your story, it's developing your story, your author story, how you got to where you are right now. Then it's developing your platforms, choosing which platforms you want to be on. You don't have to be everywhere doing everything. And a lot of the time, developing your story will give you a really great idea of where you should be, because you're finding out who are the people that you actually need to reach. And then we look at developing your content. So what should I actually be doing? What should I be putting on there? I have no idea what to post. I have nothing to post. And that's one of the biggest things that I get told. Oh, I can't do social media because I don't have anything to say. It's like, well, kind of telling stories is your job. So I think you do have something to say, but we just need to find a way that you feel comfortable sharing that through a different medium and on a different platform. Developing your brand, and I'm going to talk about why it's more important to develop your brand and promote your brand than it is necessarily to promote each individual book. And developing your mindset, because a lot of the times the biggest blocker for people when they're building an online author platform is that they don't have a really great positive mindset around that, and they can't see the potential benefits. So hopefully I will be able to answer all of those questions for you today. So let's talk about developing your story. So your story is your why. It's not necessarily your story as in the book that you've written. It's about why you wrote it in the first place. And that is one of the biggest assets that you have on social media, being able to share with people why you decided to go on this crazy journey that people are like, oh my goodness, I've always wanted to write a book, but I've never done it. Well, you did it. You should be super excited and proud of yourself. And you're already so far ahead than a lot of other people. So, you know, you need to have a look and see what was it that made you actually go ahead and do it, where so many people just sit and talk about it. Like, what was it that made you take the plunge? And sharing that can be so powerful, because it really does put you apart from those gonna do's who say that they're going to do it, but they never do. So think about that. It's a huge asset. And your story is your responsibility as well. And I think a lot of people forget that we are so much bigger than just the products that we're creating. Like, we have got this amazing backstory, and we've also got this huge responsibility as well, that once we actually do spend all this time and love and heartache sometimes producing a book, it's our responsibility for that book to go out into the world and do good. Now, you can't do that unless people know about you and know about your book. So that's why it's so important that you are having that social media platform, so that you are able to do what you intended to do when you wrote the book. It's also about learning from people who know better than you. One of the things I think that was a big wake-up call for me, but also something I'm actually really grateful for, is that in this industry, you never stop learning. And I actually love that. I love the fact that I learn things all the time, and that I'm constantly asking people who are next level what they did, how did they get up onto the next level. And you'll find that a lot of the time, those people are willing to put their hand down and help you and lift you up to the next level. And I love that about our industry. So don't be scared to reach out to the people who are doing what you want to do and ask them for help, because most of the time they will be more than happy to do that. And when you see a problem in the world and you have the asset to solve it, you create a product. That's the basics of business, and it's the basics of making the world a better place. And you've got to remember that your products are your books. So your books don't define you. They are the products that you create, but those are the products that you use to solve a problem in the world. So if you look at it that way, building your author platform online is offering products to your growing community that could hopefully solve a problem and make their life better. And so when you think of it like that, it really isn't about selling at all. So it's almost like developing a business plan in your head. So when you think about it, I mean, a book can take up to 2 years to produce. So you've got a lot of time if you've just been contracted on how you can actually use that content. And, you know, it's a great opportunity to bring people along on that journey with you. So you've got that contract, even if you don't have a contract yet, but let's just say for the people who have got a contract, potentially you've got an opportunity where you can build up to book release. And then once you have got that book release, you've got a window of approximately about 4 months to really hone in on promoting that book and yourself as an author. After 4 months, people are going to probably get a little bit sick about you talking about the same book. And also that's when bookstores will be sending back any of your books if they haven't sold in bookstores, and same online, they will be reducing the amount of stock that they are keeping for online platforms. It's also when publishers, if they have published, if you have traditionally published, they will be looking at that first 3 to 4 months to see what sort of sales that you have received and to see potentially whether they will offer you another book contract or if they want to work with you again. So it's really, really important that you have some sort of business plan for your author platform from contract all the way up to 4 months after your book release. But what I'll say is you've got a lot more potential if you actually don't base it all around marketing and promotion of your book, but you actually base it on your brand. Because if you are building your brand as an author, you're not locked in to that kind of 4-month window. You're basically able to share at any time about where you are on your journey. And to do that, you really need to fall in love with your target market and not your book. And I think people get a bit excited and they want to have separate Facebook pages for every new book. And it's just a bit exhausting and a little bit pointless because you do have a limited amount of time that that book is going to be relevant. And you really want to make sure that you are building up yourself as an author so that you're giving yourself opportunities to publish more books. And I think it's a lot easier the more books you have to post stuff on social media. So the business plan really needs to be around you developing yourself not only as an author, but as someone who has long-term potential in this industry. And then to do that, you really need to develop your social media. But there's so much out there. Oh my goodness. And it's getting more and more difficult to figure out where you should be and what you should do. So I think it really has to be around what suits you and what suits your target audience. And we talk about this a lot on the course, that there's a lot of different social media platforms out there, but you really need to find the one where you are seen and the one where you can have the most reach and the most positive effect on your community. So using social media is basically giving you a microphone. That's kind of how you've got to think of it. Like your message is exactly the same, but you just kind of get a little bit more volume using your social media. And, you know, we've got so many different platforms that we choose from. You don't have to be on everything. You just have to be on what works and where you're getting the most engagement. So when we look at social media, there's something in it that we are the first generation of authors who've ever had to deal with social media. I mean, up until now, if people haven't had that exposure to social media and they're used to only doing face-to-face events and they've had a whole career in publishing and being an author where they've never had to, transition online, it's really, really hard. So if up until now, if you're a mid-career author and this is the first time that you're thinking, oh my goodness, to stay relevant, I actually have to develop my social media platform, and you feel like you're starting up from scratch, like that can be quite demoralizing. But I'm going to give you some really positive information on why, if you are mid to late career, that it's not too late and that you need to start now. If this is something that you are coming into brand new, then you need to understand that you are potentially at the start of something huge. And this is an amazing opportunity for you to learn the basics and learn from the ground up. And then the people who are coming after us, the up and coming authors who are going to be from the generation where they have known nothing but social media platform, they're going to come through and they're going to smash it, because it's what they've always known. They know about it. So this is kind of a tricky era for those of us who are established or who are just coming into it, but social media and building an online platform is still quite a new thing. So business analysts say that we're 4 years into an 18-year cycle of value-adding content creation. What does that mean? So basically, up until 4 years ago, having an author platform didn't exist. It wasn't something that was even thought about. Up until 4 years ago, having a social media marketing campaign didn't exist. And up until 4 years ago, we didn't really hear things like content creators or sharing stories about products. Like it's so new, but the cycle is going to be around for a long time. So we're 4 years in to this really solid cycle of people wanting content. And I mean, that's what we do. We write stuff. We can write content. And if we get really good at it, it's not too late. We can absolutely add value, and we can become part of not only this emerging platform, but there are potentials there for us to have ways that we can earn income as well. So diversifying how we're sharing our stories is something that we need to really think about, because there is a potential there that we can be earning income from sharing content. And this is something that's going to be coming a lot more to the forefront in the next couple of years, that at the moment we're providing a lot of content for free to all of these social media platforms that are making $1 gazillion off us providing free content. And that is not going to last forever, because a lot of people are starting to go, hang on a second, you're making the money, but we're the ones providing the content. And there's a huge opportunity there, if you can get your head around this, that potentially you could be paid for posting on social media. And it all starts with developing content. The great thing about it is, if you have a book, you've already got content. If you already have a book, you already have products. If you've got an idea for a book, then you've got something to post about. It's just about feeling like that you have a voice and that people are actually going to want to listen to what you have to say. So it's not so much about finding new content, it's about using the content that you already have and multi-purpose posting that, so that you have got information and content on the right platforms to reach the people that you need to. One of the biggest mistakes that I see authors make is they only have one product. And when we think of, I try not to use too much business terms, but what we need to realize is that the minute that you either self-publish a book, or the minute that you sign a book contract and you have that business number, you are now a small business. So you need to think about that, building your author platform on social media as developing a way that you can promote yourself as a small business owner. And people get really scared at that. They think, oh no, Michelle, I don't want to do all that stuff. But the trouble is, you already are. And so you've got to kind of get your head around it. And doing it all with one book or not having a book yet is tricky. I get that. So what you need to do is you need to make sure that you're diversifying and having lots of different things that you're doing, and not putting all your eggs into one basket, not only having that one book. So experiment. This is a really great time that we can try things. And if it doesn't work, it doesn't matter. So don't let a fixation on only wanting to publish one sort of thing stop you from experimenting with different platforms, different genres. This is a really great time to diversify and have a try. You never know until you put yourself out there into the universe. So don't make the mistake of thinking that you're a one-trick pony. You're not. You are a master of all trades, and you need to have a try at different things so that you have different content that you can share on social media. Now, there's lots of different types of platforms, and this is something that, it can be a huge blocker for people. I don't know where I should be on social media. And absolutely, I totally get that. And it really depends on what your message is to where you should be posting on social media. But the great thing about it is once you develop your content, it doesn't just have to go in one aspect of social media. Something that you create to go on Facebook, for example, could be something that you can send to traditional media that maybe might go either for a radio interview or in a newspaper or even television. You know, something that you're writing for LinkedIn could be a blog that goes on your website. And all of these different types of platforms really would be things that you would say to people if you were face to face with them. So you don't need to reinvent the wheel here. What you need to do is find content and then figure out which platform that would benefit from. And then don't be scared to shape it and mold it to the different types of platforms. So you're not having to sit there every day thinking, I need to come up with something new. You can take something and then tailor it to the different types of platform. And there's different types of content as well. There's, the posts, which can be short with a photo. You could do a video, you could do a longer form piece. Just do what you enjoy, what works for you, and it will depend on the different products that you have as well. So if you are predominantly writing picture books, it can be really tricky because our target audience is kids, but our target market is parents and teachers and grandparents and anyone who actually buys the book for the kids. So if you can have more than one product, for example, if you can have your picture book, but then you might have some YouTube videos as well that go along to promote the book, then you can have different products because those videos then become products and your book becomes a product. Your interviews can become products, and they're all assets that you can then use to build your author platform online. So it really does come down to who your target market is and why your story makes a connection with them. And this can be, again, tricky when you're doing the kidlit space. But in saying that, I think in my opinion, I have got two very social media adverse grown children. One of them has done an IT degree and he doesn't like social media at all. It's funny how he's got a mum who just loves social media, and anyway, that's a whole nother story. But what we look at is that the types of social media that the 21 to 18-year-old people, so if you're writing YA, is consuming is very different than if you were writing to an adult audience or a kids audience, or if you wanted to get school visits and you want to connect with teachers, or if you're writing memoir and you want to help other people write memoir, then you've got, again, a different target market as well. So what is it about your story that's going to make a connection? And then what other markets are not your target market? Because you're not a Tim Tam, you can't please everybody. So I think you need to really think about who is it that you want to be speaking to with what you're doing at that particular time. And again, you can do lots of different things. So you could talk to teachers one day, grandparents the next. You can do video specifically for kids the next, but each one has their own specific target. And then think about that target market and what platforms do they use and what content do they best respond to. And we talk about this a lot in the course, especially when we talk about video. About video is definitely for a younger audience. Teachers like the idea of video, and I think that's why TikTok has been so successful with teachers, is because a lot of the time they've got a 30-second, 2-minute or 5-minute video that they're watching, so it doesn't take up a lot of time and it's something that they can do quite quickly in between doing other things. So video is one way, but then you've got an older audience, say you're looking at a YA audience, that they will really enjoy having some potential fan fiction or reading something online. So they read everything online. So you might like to do a longer form post for your YA, really talking about stuff that's going on a website or on a different platform, depending on, what specific area in YA. So it can get really tricky. So you need to know who specifically is your target market and where they are, because there's no point posting on social media if the people who you want to reach don't use that platform. And when we go through each platform, we look at the different people and where they actually are on those different ways that you can communicate. But one thing that I will say is, you would have seen a couple of years ago that they took away amounts of followers on Instagram. And everybody said that they did that because, they didn't want people to make it about a number, which we don't. But, the real reason that they did that is because so many people were not using Instagram anymore, because they thought that because they weren't getting really high numbers of followers, that there was no point. And they were losing a lot of people off their platform. So what they did is they took away the numbers, and the people who were using that platform and had a huge amount of numbers all cracked up, because they were totally addicted to the numbers. And a lot of the time you found that their content dropped off because they were doing it for the numbers, not doing it for the people and the community that they were following. So it's been a really great transition, and getting rid of that old school thinking, again, is something that we go through a lot in the course, because you can't do it for the numbers. If you're doing it for the numbers, then the numbers are never going to be enough. And a lot of the time, if authors are writing, they're writing for a specific purpose. They're not influencers who are maybe getting a ghostwriter to write their story. They've already got the social media platform. And I think the great thing about this as well is that publishers are also understanding that when we look at social media platform for authors, they're not so worried about how many followers they've got. They look at the type of engagement that you're getting. Are you getting people who are commenting on your posts? Do you have an author who is where their potential target market is? And they're not so worried about fabulous numbers. They just want to know that you have got an understanding of what it takes to do online platforms, and that you are open to responding to those people who are connecting with you there, and you are growing a community. So it doesn't make any sense to chase numbers anymore, because the algorithms keep changing. It's really just about making sure that you are available to people who may be reaching out to you, which is a really great benefit of social media. And to do that, we really need to ditch the dinosaur thinking. So having your Facebook fan page or your business page is like being in the yellow pages. So if you're not on Facebook, it really is difficult for people to find you, because a lot of the time now, if people want to search for somebody, they will go and do a Facebook search first of all, or they will do a Google search, and what your Facebook platform will be one of the things that comes up first. So you need to be seen. So it's all about being seen. So the consensus with all of the research that they've done is that Facebook fan pages aren't great when it comes to engagement, because the algorithm automatically thinks that you're going to try and sell things to people, and you won't have a huge reach with your page. And that's why when we talk about Facebook in the course, and we do a whole series of videos on this with the online learning, I actually have my Facebook personal page as my business page, and I am getting a lot more reach doing that than I am actually having my Facebook page, which I still do. I have my Facebook fan page and I have my Facebook personal page, but I use both of them for business. So anytime I'm on social media, I am building my author platform. If I want to talk to people privately, friends and family, I talk to them off social media. So it's just one of those things. I use Messenger a lot for private messaging and for talking to family and friends. But if I'm on social media, it's all building. It's all building my online platform, because it's just too hard only having a Facebook fan page. You really don't get that consistency of people seeing your stuff. And yeah, it's painful, because it never used to be like that. But it's just how things are changing. And if you try and figure out algorithms and things, I think you go a little bit nuts, because they keep moving the goalposts. So it's not about trying to figure out the algorithm. It's about trying to be where you can be of most help to the people who need what you have to offer. Instagram's another example. So Instagram's like a glossy magazine. So you don't see many glossy magazines out anymore. People are looking at their phone. So Instagram still has one of the best engagement rates of any social media network. Second still to Facebook. Facebook is the yellow pages. So definitely you have to have some sort of presence on Facebook. But I guess the trouble with Instagram still is you can't really link websites, which is still really tricky. You can only have one link in your Instagram bio, but we talk about things like Linktree and that kind of thing. So you've got to think of Instagram as a glossy magazine where you can be showing up photos that will build engagement with your audience. So Instagram's a really great way for people to get in touch with you through comments on your photos, but you really need to be developing photo content for Instagram. And when I started off, I didn't have photos of myself or my books. I started off with photos of coffee, because I'm addicted to coffee and I love coffee, and talked about books and coffee and writing and coffee and wanting to be an author and coffee. So that's a really, it doesn't have to always be perfect flat pack photos. It really has to be about building a community around what you're interested in and finding a tribe of people that can I guess relate to what you're doing. So we do a whole video course on LinkedIn. So I think that is where authors really need to be. and I actually get somebody who is a LinkedIn specialist, and we interview them on the course as well. So the interaction engagement is just amazing on LinkedIn, and I have made some amazing connections with people that have led to publishing contracts, that have led to growing things like my screenwriting career. And I think the great thing about LinkedIn, even though it has got that algorithm not as bad as Facebook and Instagram, but it's still something where if you have a connection with someone, it's very easy to follow them, and with the use of hashtags, it's a really great way that you can build your professional network, which is super important when we can't go and do face-to-face networking. LinkedIn is an opportunity where we can still put ourselves in front of the people who are making decisions when it comes to contracts and publishing companies. So if you haven't looked at LinkedIn, definitely go back and have a look at it, or do the course where we have got a whole section on that. So people who have contacted me in the past know that I am very adamant that I do not pay for promotion. I have tried in the past a couple of different ways with paid engagement, and from my experience, I think unless you're chasing numbers, which you shouldn't do, it's just not worth it, and it's a very costly way to maybe get a couple of followers who will never engage with you and who aren't actually your target audience anyway. But I think that you need to understand that there is a lot of competition out there. There is new people joining the space all the time, that you are better off making a connection with your target audience via organic reach, and maybe looking for new platforms that are coming up that are going to pay you for your content, instead of you paying for somebody, which is only a computer. Remember, you're not actually paying somebody to promote your work to the people who actually need it. You're putting money into an algorithm that may or may not work. And there's so many if, buts, and maybes around your actual platform and your actual post, that for me, in any of the engagement I've got, a lot of the people are, if I'm specifically even looking at tailoring down to a group like teachers, I still find that I'm not getting engagement, and that the people who are engaging are paid to engage, and they're bots, so they're not actual real people. So, and I'm very conscious as well as that this can be a very expensive hobby. We really don't need to be throwing money, and there absolutely are ways that you can have an online author platform without throwing money at paid promotion. I don't believe in it. I would rather have engagement with 3 people than have 300 fake followers. That's just me. So again, I know some people get desperate and they go, oh, but nobody's seeing it. Just because you've got numbers saying that people have liked it doesn't necessarily mean that they're the right people who have liked it. So there is a formula for social media marketing. So this is what they've come up with. A consumer needs to see on average 7 hours of content over 11 different times on 4 different platforms before they follow a call to action. So what that means is that somebody has to have engaged with 7 hours of your content. You remember, a lot of the time people are scrolling past your stuff, so they might see it for 3 seconds. And that's over 11 different times. So 7 hours of content could be that they have followed you maybe for 6 months, depending on what sort of content you're putting out there. If you're putting out videos that are going for 10 minutes or 15 minutes, or even 1 hour videos, then again, that could boost that up over 11 different times on 4 different platforms before they will look at engaging in any sort of purchasing. So when you think of it that way, first of all, take the pressure off you that it is definitely something that is a marathon, not a sprint. People will need to grow to trust you and like your stuff and want to engage with you before they go ahead and maybe buy a book off you. And also, it's not about selling. So if every single time you are posting something that's about buy my book, then people are not going to stick with you for that 7 hours of content over 11 different times on 4 different platforms. So it's really got to be about you just going, whatever, how am I going to do that? I don't even know. You've got to kind of not worry about the marketing side of it and just worry about building your community. And that's what we're all about. So you've got to think about, what do you want to be known for? You're more than just one book. What do you want to be known for? When people ask, oh, have you heard of such and such? She's an author. What do you think about them? You don't want them to say, oh, I think she wrote a book about something. Like, what do you want them to, when they hear your name, what do you want them to think? And that's what you want to be posting about. That's what you want to be building an author platform on, not just a book or an individual product. So think about, what are your assets? What are you good at? Are you good at helping people? Are you good at editing? Are you good at promoting a charity that you work for? What are the things that you can bring to the table when it's all about building community? What's your backstory? And we talk about this a lot. Your backstory is probably the most powerful story that you have to bring people into your community. And then telling people about your brand gives you the content you need to market your book without doing the hard sell stuff. Because if you can get people to be on board with what you're trying to achieve, then automatically they're going to want to support you. And it doesn't become about buy my book. It's about, oh my goodness, I love what she's doing. I want to support her. And I really think that what her product is could be something that I'm super interested in. So it's not about selling at all. It's about building that author brand. And you do that by being open and being honest. And we'll talk about a little bit more about how open and how honest you be, but being classy. Being the best version of yourself and sharing your journey, which can be really tough, especially if you feel like that you have nothing to give. That imposter syndrome can be one of the biggest blockers to posting on social media. But you've got to remember that you're already doing what so many other people have only talked about. You're not an imposter. You are somebody who puts your money where your mouth is, and potentially you can help other people. So it's not about you, it's about other people. So the top 7 mistakes that lead to doing that hard sell and have people not following you and not engaging you is being really needy or really sooky on social media. So whinging, complaining, or going, oh, is anyone actually seeing this post? Or why doesn't anyone follow me? You don't need to do that. That's high school stuff. We really don't need to do that. Posting too much without purpose. So, you can take a photo of your gorgeous breakfast, but unless that's got anything to do with your branding as an author, then it's just dead space and people are not going to engage with it. So before you post, you've got to think, what is the purpose of this? Why am I doing this? How is this going to build what I'm trying to achieve? The other one is not differentiating yourself from other people. So trying to copy other people doesn't work. You need to find what works for you. Confusing people with jargon. So we do sometimes have jargon, like even Kidlit can be jargon. Some people I have no idea what Kidlit means. So making sure that you're using words and stories that will appeal to your target audience, not sticking to the process, doing it for a couple of social media, maybe posting a couple of times a day for 2 weeks and then going, it's not working, and then stopping. Like that, it doesn't work. It's about consistency and it's about sticking to the process and building. So you remember that 7 hours, building that content so people can engage with you. only marketing to other authors. And it can be really painful because as authors, we like to support each other. But if you're constantly only using us as your target audience, it gets a bit much, and it gets a bit over the top. So other authors shouldn't be your target audience all the time. They can be sometimes, but you really need to look at having other people that you are trying to connect with. And then, like I said, waiting until you have a book, because there is a huge opportunity for you to build that community and have them share the journey of becoming an author when a lot of people don't even do that like that, and they will automatically want to support you and help you. So when you think about that, it's your author branding can be a full-time job. Your new full-time job is being a brand, basically, but not like a scary fake influencer brand. It's about a brand, but you need to figure out what you want to be known for. Who do you want to be? And everything that you do has to be in line with that. And if you do that, then you'll find that you automatically have something to post about. And again, developing your mindset that you're a small business owner. So in Australia, as soon as we get what we call an ABN, we are classed as a small business. And most small businesses are started low cost, part-time. A lot of people are doing this author thing and having a full-time job or being a carer. So just because this might not be what you're doing all the time, it doesn't make it any less valuable or make it any less important that you need to grow this author brand. It has to be full-time. Everything that you're doing, even though you're doing other stuff, you need to be thinking, how is this taking me in the direction of where I want to be? And the small business owner can leverage a strong brand name while keeping their own investment affordable. You don't have to go and spend a lot of money on social media marketing. If you are developing your brand, that is the biggest thing that you can do to grow as an author. And small businesses, doesn't matter whether you're an author or not, they always don't have enough time for marketing because they're doing all the other stuff. Like if we are not writing and we're not getting books published, then there's no point spending 5 hours a day doing social media. But there has to be a balance. It has to be a balance between that continual stream of getting new people to join our community, working on what you're doing and marketing yourself. It's hard, but what we're doing is not easy. And I say that in every single course that I do, what you're about to do is not going to be easy. And if somebody is saying to you on an online course or something like that I have got a really quick, easy way for you to do it, then they are trying to sell you something, basically, because there is no shortcut to this. It is about building something so that you can be in it for the long haul, and that this is something that you can build a career on and a legacy. Like this is your legacy. And the thing is that a lot of the time, it doesn't matter what small business you're in, if you're not getting sales, your business is not sustainable. If for an author, if you are not getting new contracts and you are not selling books, then being an author is not sustainable. It just becomes an expensive hobby. And I don't want that for you. I want you to have a sustainable career as an author. But, it can be really tricky. It's really like trying to solve a Rubik's Cube, because there's products, which is your books, it's promoting the books, it's writing the books, it's making money, it's your health, it's your relationships. There's so much more to it. And I think you need to acknowledge that as well when you are looking at building your online social media brand, because it's not easy, but it's a process, and it really is something that takes in all of the different facets of life. And I think being open and honest with you about that will hopefully lead to something that's a little bit realistic than somebody just saying, oh, if you do this course, then you will have 10,000 followers in a month. Like, yeah, that's great. But what are you actually going to get out of that? Are you just doing it for ego, or are you actually wanting to do something that it's a little bit more about making a difference and helping people? So what's next? Okay, so we're going to have Q&A time, but I wanted to remind you that we do have Authors Online, which is our online resource for authors from all over the world, authorsonline.com.au. I've only just scratched the surface today, guys, with this, and I know that there's so much more I could say, but I haven't even done question time, and I've nearly used up all the time. I want to make sure I have lots of time to answer your questions. Go to authorsonline.com.au. There is the social media course there. There are hours and hours of videos of me teaching you how to go through all the different platforms and what content needs to be on all of those different platforms, interviews with people who are actually social media experts, because I am not a social media expert. I'm an author. At the end of the day, I write books. That's what I do. So if you are interested in doing the social media course, it's VIP 50. It is a course where it will take you through everything. But again, I'm going to say to you, it is not a quick fix course. It is something that is going to challenge you, because there are actually things that you have to do at the end of each video for this to actually work. So it will say, all right, now this is the steps. I want you to actually go away and do it. So it is a process. It's a 6-week course, and it will help you build your author platform.